A subprocess is an independent business process initiated during the execution of its parent process. When you initiate a subprocess, Elma suspends the execution of the parent process until the subprocess is complete. The only exception is external subprocesses with a multiple execution marker. An internal subprocess is a business process executed in the context of its parent process. It belongs to the parent process and therefore, it can use the data stored in the parent process. Though an internal subprocess is executed within its parent process, it can have its own context variables. Create an internal subprocess for the leave request process. Find the internal subprocess element in the left panel in Elma Designer. Place it in the process model. In the opened window, you can select one of the existing processes or create a new internal subprocess. Select Create New Internal Subprocess option. Follow the steps of the process creation wizard. Replace the handover task with this subprocess. Design the model for the paper form control subprocess. You can place a subprocess in any swim lane of the parent process. The executors of the subprocess are defined within the subprocess. Design a subprocess model like this. According to the swim lanes, any HR department employee can check whether the initiator has submitted a paper copy of the leave request. The Context tab of the subprocess already contains all the context variables of the parent process, and you can create additional context variables. Now, the map of the leave request process looks like this. An external subprocess is a business process executed in its own context. The subprocess passes data to the parent process via input and output context variables, scripts, and send message and receive message activities. You can start an external subprocess as an independent process. Find the external subprocess element in the left panel in Elma Designer. Place it in the process model. In the opened window, select the required process. For the leave request process, create an external subprocess containing tasks to calculate and hand out the leave pay. Create the context variables for the leave pay subprocess. Check the input box to pass their values from the parent process to the external subprocess. Edit the model of the leave request process. You can delete the payroll account and swim lane, since the executor of its task is defined in the subprocess. Make additional settings to pass context variables from the parent process to the external subprocess. Open the settings of the subprocess. On the Input/Output Attributes tab, define how the parent process variables match the context variables of the subprocess. Click on the current value in the parent column. From the drop-down list, select the variable that will match the subprocess variable. The subprocess variable and the matching parent process variable must be of the same type. Save and publish the external subprocess independently of the parent process. Use the external subprocess element and special markers to edit the parent process model. For the review request task, select the conditional operation marker and set up the condition. Execute if the duration is more than 1 day. Elma will execute this task only if this condition is met. For the external subprocess, select the multiple execution marker, which will allow you to start both processes in parallel.